Hi, it's Laura, and I want to take a moment to thank you personally and on behalf of my team for your support in this time. Your curiosity, commitment to truth, and solidarity mean the world to us. As we approach the end of the year, we need you more than ever. We are determined to mount a media resistance to marginalization, silencing, and political violence. We intend to continue to amplify the voices of changemakers and push bold ideas to the forefront. We'll do our part, but we can't do it alone. Will you stand with us, join with us, and help us build the media resistance we need more than ever right now? Every contribution helps, and you all help keep this content free for everybody. Do your part. Visit lauraflanders.org/donate to contribute today. And thank you. Now on with this week's show.
After I did my protest about the Confederate flag that went viral, I hung a noose around my neck and draped myself in a Confederate flag. It was a very scary time for me because I got thrown into the fight to change the Mississippi state flag. There was a lot of death threats, but a lot of support.
This conference was really to say, you move the world. This was a gathering of like-minded folks sharing a dream of all of us belonging and all of us saving this democracy, interfaith, intergenerational.
Peace activist, artist, poet Genesis B. is busy. She has a book out titled People Not Things, Love Poems and Paintings for Humanity. And she recently curated the Freedom Rising art show in Brooklyn, New York, featuring work by incarcerated artists currently held by the Georgia Department of Corrections. She is the artist in residence at Middle Collegiate Church in Manhattan and participated in the church's annual conference, Freedom Rising, which focused on the 24 elections, threats to democracy, and collective empowerment. And with freedom being a contested topic always, and certainly right now, freedom from what? For what? For whom? It was my great pleasure to sit down with Genesis B. recently in the studios of CUNY TV in New York. With us was Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis, the Senior Minister for Public Theology and Transformation there at Middle. The church's two-word slogan is just love. Genesis painted in studio for her and for us too. It was a first. And I invited Jacqui to co-host. In a time of division, how do we create a sense of collective freedom? For that, we turn to a poet and a preacher. Well, it is such a pleasure to have both of you here. Jacqui, thank you for joining me again.
Jacqui Lewis,
Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis, the pastor of Middle Collegiate Church. Genesis B., you've just finished curating an art show. You've had a book out. There's a film coming out about you in the fall. This has been a busy year for you.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
It's a pleasure.
You've been a long-time supporter, so I just want to say I appreciate you.
Well, you too. Last time we spoke, you were engaged in the struggle to get the Confederate flag out of the state flag of Mississippi.
Sure.
A victory of sorts.
A victory, a collaborative victory.
Talk about that. What's happened?
Yeah, I mean, during the George Floyd protests, I can't really mention that triumph without mentioning the spirit of George Floyd. And all the collaborators who worked on that issue. You know, I just came in kind of on the tail end. It's like Carlos Moore, Judge Carlos Moore, Anjanou Ellis, Danielle Holmes, Leah Campbell, Mississippi Rising Coalition, like the names that you might not see plastered all over the media. But wow, like what an honor to work alongside these folks and to bring down the Mississippi state flag and bring up one that is beautiful and unifying. You know, that like all Mississippians can be like, yeah, it's my flag.
You two have an interesting relationship. Your organization, your work have been in dialogue and in collaboration, talk about collaboration for a long time. How do you describe what you've been doing together with Genesis?
Genesis is my mentor. She's a wonderful human being who our mutual friend Susan Davis brought Genesis to Middle Church when she was a younger one than she is now. And I think we adopted each other. This is my spirit daughter. We have been, I've been watching her grow, her multimedia artist self emerge, but also she's been curating some art at Middle Church in different respects, but most especially this year in a Freedom Rising conference. She collaborated to pull together a 2 months art display at one of our sister company's Art House, one of our young adults owns, to put freedom rising in the space of art. So art that she'll say more about from folks who are incarcerated, who are dreaming of freedom as we think about freedom rising. And not only the visual art, but also a night of artists singing and performing, all in service of the way art creates the world we want and points our way to freedom.
You want to talk a bit about your collaborators in that show?
Absolutely. So at Brooklyn Art House opened their doors to Middle Church and I for the Freedom Rising art exhibit. And Jacqui asked me if I could curate something. I said, can I do what I want? Because I've had this idea for a long time to just do an exhibit featuring all currently incarcerated artists. And I partnered with an organization in Georgia called Heartbound Ministries. And they've been doing this real work and direct impact for a while. And wow, the production that they already have, like the catalog that they already had, I had a chance to kind of sift through and choose the pieces. And these artists are just exceptional. Like, I was humbled. I was like, man, way better than me. And I was just so blown away by the sheer talent. I said, I would love to show this in New York and confront the public with the humanity of these exceptional artists and just get them thinking deeper around the prison system, mass incarceration, and how it's so easy for us to kind of out of sight, out of mind people and put them in cages, really. Put them away out of sight of society, lump everybody together as a unit, a monolith, not individual human beings who are worthy of dignity.
What was the feeling there at the show as you saw it open?
I was proud of the artists. I was so proud to show their work because it is, I keep coming back to this word exceptional, the talent and the skill level, the details, the love, the imagination, the memories that they have, their dreams for the future are all captured in these pieces. And I think that there was a lot of feelings from the public, mixed feelings when you're confronted, and I think that art and propaganda can be used to dehumanize people, and it has in the past, like Birth of a Nation, bringing Black people to a monolith of justifying why they should be hurt, assaulted, incarcerated. But if that's true about art and propaganda, it can also be used to humanize. It can also be used for freedom and liberation. The public has to give permission for an institution to exist and see a necessity for it. An institution like the mass incarceration, which is egregious in this country. So this was just my small contribution to confront the public with the humanity of these artists.
So that brings me back to your work, where you start with a blank canvas and you end up with a beautiful painting, and you've taken a bunch of risks and been yourself in the process. We had a chance to see you in action here in the studio just a little while ago. What was that like for you, and what were you painting?
That was the first time I've actually painted like in front of people and to show my signature barrier strokes and see how they're completed and the movement of that, always left to right, the fragmentation that I feel, the barriers that I feel, the conflict that I try to every day liberate myself from these barriers so that I can see you.
Clock in, clock out, bow down while they cash out, too busy to reach out, heart closed, head down. This is the new norm now. I think we've been worn down by the industry of division. Communication creates an opportunity to poke holes in the theory of bigotry through scrutiny, a chance for the truth to be told, a chance to educate and reactivate. So why do we refuse to communicate? Instead, we decide to elevate. Pundits and panelists, political analysts, each story more scandalous. They know what drives us and how to divide us. But I want to be brave. I don't want to be another slave to the reinforced and repeated beliefs advertised on this webpage. And my carefully curated timeline between insanity and reality is a fine line. Don't want to sit on the sidelines while my nation eats itself alive, inflating the prices of divine lives. Another statistic of bullets and ballistic, something twisted, indignant, using another's pigment or gender or religion as ammunition. The alt-right and extreme left want so much to be right, they're willing to cause death. Republican versus Democrat, fueling an inflammation because there is an industry of division.
Do you always paint to your own poetry, listening to your poetry?
Either my poetry or my music, they speak to each other. And like, there's a lot of movement in my motion. So there's movement in poetry and music as well. So it helps me like dial in.
You also talk about in your poetry, this beautiful new poetry book, People Not Things. One of the points you make in poem after poem is that we are under pressure. You say there's an art to free thinking.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how you imagine freedom, or how do you even approach it? Because this is a word that has been used for liberation and against us, in a sense.
Absolutely.
And in these times, we have debates happening on our campuses around freedom. And yet that idea of freedom of speech and freedom to organize, freedom to convene, freedom to gather, at least some of those freedoms are enshrined in our Constitution. So you just had a conference, Freedom Rising. You're obviously grappling with this question of freedom. Whose and how?
Absolutely, we are. This was our 18th Justice Conference, Laura. You've been around for lots of that at Middle Church. I just wanted to come up to thank them personally for just radical truth-telling.
We have a critical role to play in countering and ultimately uprooting white Christian nationalism and authoritarianism.
We need an ecological imagination. We need an ecological imagination for more than just the work of environmental and climate justice. What we need an ecological imagination as a framework for thinking about all the issues that move us.
These young people are making history, and we are witnessing history unfold before our very eyes. And what I will say to everyone here, I will not be silenced. I will not reframe and frame myself into a pretzel to make anyone feel comfortable, because no one should be comfortable during a genocide, my friends.
This is Laura Flanders and Friends. That was a snippet from Freedom Rising, a conference presented by Middle Church in New York in April 2024. In that clip, we heard Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis, along with Stosh Kotler, CEO at Bend the Arc, Reverend Michael Ray Matthews, CFO at Faith in Action, and Linda Sarsour, co-founder and CEO of Empower Change. This time, Laura is joined by Reverend Jacqui, who is Senior Minister of Public Theology and Transformation there at Middle Church, and peace activist, poet, and Middle Church artist in residence, Genesis B. Genesis is the author of People Not Things, Love Poems and Paintings for Humanity. We heard one of her poems earlier in the show. While the historic Middle Church was destroyed due to fire several years ago, their work continues undaunted. We'll hear more about that next, and about the new movie, Mississippi Turning, about Genesis B, which is coming out this fall. You'll definitely want to watch this episode at our website to see Genesis B painting live in studio, along with footage from that upcoming film. It's all at lauraflanders.org. While you're there, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter to receive information on all of our web exclusives, including a video short from the UCLA encampment for divestment, featuring faculty members speaking out about the attack on the camp by armed counter-protesters and the police raid that followed. The show continues, but first here's Blind Lady Say, Be Love, by Genesis B, courtesy of the artist.
Be love, be love, be love. You don't know self, then you don't know none. Blind lady say, your past won't change, at least you can. Blind lady say, one man's war is another man's game. Blind lady say, don't worship coin and a coin won't rain. Blind lady say, she say, she say, she say, soldiers and warriors are not the same. She say, she say, she say, both got heart, only one got brain. She say, she say.
What was so amazing about this year is, without a space actually to call our own, because of our December 2020 fire, we were really able to have folks come on a sojourn to New York, a fully digital conference, but also in person. And we had about 300 people in person and another 100 online. I think people who are really dreaming about freedom, freedom to be free, liberated to be free. The word freedom is hijacked often by folks. Freedom from having to change, freedom from having to admit the humanity of others, freedom from having to widen the tent, freedom from having to let go of their sense of exceptionalism. And this conference was really to say, you move the world. Those of us who understand that there's a dream we can be dreaming that is a big dream, where everyone is welcome, where all the lives matter, where incarceration isn't the answer to infractions, where we want to redeem our family, our systems. This was a gathering of like-minded folks sharing a dream of all of us belonging and all of us saving this democracy, interfaith, intergenerational. It was a very powerful, evocative event.
How do you think about freedom, Genesis?
I say my art liberates my ego from the prison of identity.
Explain more about that.
So if I can't liberate my ego from the labels and identity that I impose on myself and that society imposes on me, the identity that I see in you and that I see in you, if I can't break down and unpack and deprogram myself from the barriers that come with those identities, then I can't show up in the world and see you as a complex human being worthy of dignity first and foremost. I'm just gonna see you like, oh, at first she's a white lady. Some white lady from London. That's not, shouldn't be my go-to. We're programmed to see the differences first versus like, I'm gonna walk out of my house today, and because I've liberated myself today, because I have to do it every day, every person I engage with, whether it's my Uber driver or a funder or my family, I need to see them as a complex human being worthy of dignity first and foremost. And to me, that's my personal freedom. That's how I can show up in the world. And however the world perceives me, I have to understand not to take on the attributes of whatever identity you see me. Like, this is just my avatar. I'm an infinite spirit who's very powerful and very humble, but extremely powerful. But this is the human experience and avatar that I'm in. This isn't who I am just from what you see.
One of the things that I've been really working hard on since the fire, I would say the fire liberated me, Laura. I mean, the thing we found in the fire was a desperate sense of the urgency of now. Like, the thing is gone, the brick is gone, the fires took that away. But it didn't take away our love. You know the story of our friends taking care of folks even while we're grieving our own fire. But also people found us in the fire, and we found new partners in the fire. And I think maybe because of the fire and both of my parents being dead, I just feel unbounded. I feel my tongue is liberated. My attitude is liberated. I feel a desperate need to speak truth to power, to find folks who are aligned around a yes for all of us.
We are in one of the most divided times I've ever seen us, whether you're talking the election or the economy, the environment, Gaza, yeah. Israel. I mean, how are you dealing with that? I'm finding it hard to even keep people at the same dinner party.
I don't think it's magic, but I think it's truth. I think honesty begets honesty. I think if we're vulnerable and say, I'm confused, I'm afraid, I don't like this is what I really think, the truth really does set us free. In other words, the candid expression of my opinion and making space for the candid expression of your opinion is how middle is staying together right now. It works to say we don't agree on these things, but we agree on love as a path. We believe that everyone should have enough. We believe that all paths lead to sustainability. We believe the earth should be okay. So we're finding that shared set of dynamics that keep us together, even as we worship in a synagogue where our Jewish hosts don't necessarily agree with how we feel about the conflict in Gaza.
Yeah, I think we have to be real. We have to be truthful. We have to look at history. We have to confront ourselves with the hard truths. Nothing will happen until the truth. If there is exploitation involved, if there's profit in dehumanizing people, in incarcerating people, if there's land grabs, if human behavior is strictly moved, the power structure moved by how much profit can be made, and that's not addressed, I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, that takes me back to Mississippi. People often talk about genocide. It couldn't happen here. Could it happen here? And you think, well, what do you think happened here for the hundreds of years of chattel slavery? And we began with that change in the flag. And your documentary, the documentary that's coming out featuring you, Genesis B, is called Mississippi Turning.
Yes.
And I just love that title. It's a wonderful reference, of course, to the movie Mississippi Burning, but it also, even just in the title, indicates change is possible.
My name's Genesis B, and I grew up in Mississippi. You know, they want to just be proud of their ancestors, which, you know, we all want to do, but some things you shouldn't be proud of.
They have the audacity to name April Confederate Heritage Month.
People online were saying harassing threats to shoot me and burn me. I don't believe in changing the minds of people in Mississippi. I think we have to change the hearts.
Although it is used as a symbol of hate, it is history.
But what about my history? See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. Our state flag flies in front of schools and in my judge's court, sending a clear message to us, our lives are not important.
We always talk about, you know, if something bothers you, do something about it. Not a lot of people do, and here you are.
Remove this racist Confederate imagery from that flag.
No fear. All people are welcome here.
If change can happen in Mississippi, it can happen all across America.
What's that Faulkner quote?
Which one?
To understand the world, you have to understand a place like Mississippi.
Oh, that's real.
Do you want to talk a bit more about what's in the film, what you're excited about, how people will be able to get it soon?
So executively produced by Irshad Manji, Anjanou Ellis, the amazing actress and activist, and Breakout, Chris Wilson and Michael Farber. And Adam Granick is the one who named it Mississippi Turning. They followed me during my collaborative fight to try to raise awareness, not only nationally on national tours, but doing civil discourse sessions in Mississippi with millennials who were neo-Confederate or white millennials who didn't identify as neo-Confederate, and the descendant of the unique slave, the descendants of civil rights activists like myself, to really humanize the issue and like, let's really talk about this. Because what were you taught in your household? Because I wasn't taught this. And also, when you read the cornerstone speech of the Confederacy, they say very blatantly what their main truth is, the inferiority of Black people. So I think that civil discourse is an opportunity to poke holes in bigotry through scrutiny. I say that in the poem, you know, so it kind of follows my journey. And yeah, the flag came down in 2021 after flying 120 plus years. And it kind of shows how I got into it 6 years prior or 5 years prior up until the day it came down. And yeah, it's incredible. Mississippi Turning, it should be dropping in the fall of this year.
So exciting.
Let's see.
The question I ask at the end of every one of these conversations is, what do you think is the story the future will tell of this moment?
They're going to say they refuse to accept the truth and be accountable. Everyone is turned away from accountability. And the young were failed. And they're going to look back and probably really look at us like, what were y'all doing? What were y'all thinking? You have this technology, you had a technological revolution, industrial revolution, but we didn't have a spiritual evolution. You know, in the future, I believe we're going to be transcended to a more spiritual heightened place where we are going to see each other as complex human beings. And anyone's trying to exploit or fearmonger, they're going to be shunned. They're not going to be propped up into positions of power so that they can make as much profit as possible. That's going to be the antiquated part that the future is going to look at.
I like it.
Yeah.
So they're going to say, what the heck took them so long?
Yeah, well, they're going to look at us like we're cavemen or Neanderthals spiritually.
What do you think, Jacqui?
Spiritually.
I hope 2035, somebody's reading Genesis's poetry and thinking, I've liberated myself from my ego and the identities that are bound up in it. And because I've done that, I can look at all the human beings around me and I can see that we're inextricably connected one to the other and that we can't thrive and we can't survive unless we do it together. And we've made new systems and new ways of being.
And nature and the environment too. Beautiful.
That's right.
That's beautifully said. Not only the humanity, but in our relation to this down here.
Exactly.
I'm reminded of a friend of mine, who a theater person, who says the only way home is through. Like the only way you're going to get off the stage is through the stage. There's been all sorts of campaigns against identity politics and talking about identity. So I just want to put a pin on it, that we have got to go through this process of lifting up all our multiple identities in order to get to the place where we can say they don't matter, right?
I didn't say they don't matter. I would never say
they do
that.
matter, yeah.
Yes, because I think it's beautiful to have pride in your identity and your culture, especially if it has been previously suppressed and not visible. Like, I think that's important. Identity can be a prison if I'm not careful. If I'm not careful, rather than celebrating the beauty of my identities, I am being bound, my behavior in the world is being bound by the assumptions of certain identities, right? So that's what I mean. It's not necessarily a prison, but it can be. So if I'm seeing you and there's all these bars in front of me, we talk about a prison, and one bar is like, okay, I'm younger, or I am Black, or I am biracial, or I am queer, and this person is straight. Like, these are all the bars versus seeing you as a complex human being and knowing that that's what I am as well, first and foremost, and operating from that place when I move through the world, right? So it's like differences are beautiful and the different cultures are beautiful. We should learn from different cultures, be curious, see the beauty in it, be inspired by it, not exploit, not fear, not try to profit off of different cultures and the differences, you know, but this is where we are as a society. We exploit and fear. So I'm saying, rather than that, let's liberate from this prison, prison of identity.
Can I add to that? I think my favorite definition of love is the non-possessive delight in the unique particularity of the other. The non-possessive, non-competitive, non-deriding. Put all those things in there. The non, I'm not afraid, the fearless delight in the unique particularity of the other. That's, I think, that's what I dream of. I dream of all of our particularities, our funkiness, our crankiness, our queerness, our straightness, our Blackness, our whiteness, our fear, our insecurities, our ability. All of those things are traits in which to delight in one another. And if we don't make them tropes, and if we don't make them stigmas, and if we don't make them caricatures, then it's like, ooh, look at you being you with your wonderful self.
Sure.
And as I move in the world as a person becoming, I also should delight in my own particular stuff. And that makes me less afraid of yours. So a journey toward my own, like my quirk.
Self-acceptance.
Then I can love you. Exactly. And then I'm not afraid of you because I'm all right.
So a trait, not a trick, or a trap.
A trait, not a trick. Ooh, that's
and
good.
And all a treat.
I like that.
I really like that. I'm going to sit with that.
This has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to have you.
Genesis.
Wonderful to have you, Genesis.
So good to be with you.
Congratulations on the show, the book, and the movie coming out.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're watching Laura Flanders and Friends. Till the next time, stay kind, stay curious, and thanks for joining us.
For more information on this episode, check out our show notes posted for free at patreon.com/Laura Flanders and Friends. And we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the premiere of each week's show and chat in real time with Laura. The premiere now airs on Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Thanks to our member supporters, this show remains free to millions on public TV, community radio, and as a podcast. Not a member yet? Make a one-time donation or make it monthly at lauraflanders.org.
This show is produced by yours truly, Laura Flanders, along with Sabrina Artel, Jeremiah Cothran, Veronica Delgado, Erica Harley, Jeanette Hernandez, Jeannie Hopper, Sarah Miller, Nat Needham, David Neumann, and Rory O'Connor.
Thanks for joining us.